You spoke strongly about the prospect of a young coach and North Melbourne. You spoke about Adam Muse and why would you not look at it. Would you look at the North Melbourne Football Club?
No, I'm not jumping in that vortex. It's unpalatable. I got caught up in last year. It's not something I'm ever going to entertain. And, you know, it's very difficult with Rutten's in contract, Noble's in contract, a lot of pressure on these coaches. I think Alistair Clarkson, he'd be uncomfortable with this conversation. I think if there's a job vacancy, I think you're entitled to ask people. But it's a very awkward question.
We spoke about it, Ed, last week. The fact that Jeff Walsh is on the board of the Coaches Association and doing the review of the North Melbourne Football Club, we haven't heard a word from the Coaches Association. How would he be going? I mean, mentally? And I've said David Noble's under the pump. I'm part of it, but clearly he is.
Yeah, and I think you're entitled to have your call, right? But I spoke about it on the weekend on Triple M. Who's looking after David Noble and his welfare? I haven't heard the Coaches Association. They might be doing it behind closed doors, but my personal experience, Mark Brayshaw would ring when I was at Fremantle. How you going? You got support. So what's being brought to bear on him? But it goes with the chair. Yeah. When you put your hand up, you know it can go this way. It's a winning business. If you don't win, you're up for criticism, and that's fine. But I'm concerned about his well-being.
But the last thing a 50-plus-year-old coach in that situation with the young players is to have publicly people coming out and giving you the how you going and all that routine. Behind the scenes, of course, you've got to do that. But he wouldn't want to be seen to be falling by the wayside there. The thing that we've got to be careful with David Noble is this. It wouldn't matter if it was Jock McHale and Norm Smith and Dennis Pagan rolled into one and Mick Malthouse. No one is going to make this team at the moment do anything.
He's not the only problem.
They need to be going better, though, than what they are.
No, he's not the only problem. But the coach...
They've got injuries there. Last week, everyone forgets they lost 2 players before half-time at Geelong against Geelong in their full majesty. Geelong beat teams regularly by 100 points down at the Cattery, and this team is underplayed, no confidence at the moment, and things really coming after them. I do remember this. When I took over at Collingwood, the first 2 years were a wooden spoon and a second last.
You weren't having 100-plus losses.
I'll tell you what you didn't do, Ed. I'll tell you what you didn't do when you had Mick Malthouse. With 6 rounds to go and get an outside consultant to come in and do a review.
No, but that's the thing.
And the senior coach says, I don't even know what the scope of the review is.
Just to finish on that, Kerry, if I could, that's the issue with North. They need to have a plan and they need to stick to it, and they have to enunciate that plan in no uncertain terms. And people have got to come out. The leaders have got to come out. We've said this. We know that we're going to have Sonia Hood on this show in 2 weeks' time. Might be too late by then. They need to come out and stamp the flag now and say this is what we stand for.
It's beyond that now. The AFL are going to intervene. Now, Jason Horne-Francis coming back through the twos this week. What can you offer?
Is he definitely, theoretically?
Yep.
Yeah, well, you've got to keep integrity of selection. I'm big on that. But you never wanted to get to that, the number 1 draft pick. He's been under the spotlight. Has he had enough support? Has he carried himself well?
I said 100-plus losses, but they've been massive
10 goals
losses.
average or something. So we get what you're saying. Kerry, I want to bury the lead here. The AFL are going to intervene?
That's my understanding, yep.
And how does that happen?
Well, they'll come in and look at a way of helping them in the way they took over at Melbourne, the way they took over at the Gold Coast.
There's only one way for them.
And Brisbane.
So how does it work?
Well, at Melbourne,
why does no one want to address this?
At Melbourne, they put in a new CEO and a new chairman.
I know that. Who from the AFL, did you have, without giving away names, anyone from the AFL ring you and say, I know you've probably already detailed this to them already, but say, mate, we love that idea.
Mate, I spoke last year to St Kilda, Hawthorn and North Melbourne about this idea as being the best way to get the best result for Tasmania and for a Victorian-based club. Don't forget, we don't want to lose 11 games out of Victoria. We've got to pay for Marvel Stadium. We've got to play games at the MCG. There's a lot of knock-on effect just other than playing football in these decisions. And that's why we don't come into these things and make them up as we walk into the studio. This is a big decision for AFL football, and there's a really elegant way to make this happen for both teams. So long as people don't think, and North Melbourne fans do at the moment, that this will be the start and then it'll be all over in 10 years' time. There'll be like another Fitzroy, the merger with the Brisbane Lions. They've got to look at it like South Melbourne and Sydney, but 11 in Melbourne and 11 down there. I still can't... No one has told me that doesn't work and stack up. And a lot of North Melbourne people and AFL people, to your point, Lordy, are saying, yes, that's the best result.
Because you believe, Ed, don't you? If it's not this, they could be out of the game altogether.
I think every week that goes by, they're losing their bargaining power, North. And I just got to smell the Fitzroy about it. And if they turn, no one wants 19 teams. They might have to have 19 teams, or they might have they might announce a Tasmanian licence. But I don't think anyone wants 19. And well, you know who the first bottle to fall will be.
My brothers talk about you, Ross, when they were under you at Fremantle. They said you often use the saying, spokes in the wheel. You need to get every spoke in the wheel right.
Yep.
And I look at, say, senior players. They want to land a senior player, mature player, experienced player. But if they haven't got the spokes in the wheel right, who's going to go there? So they can land what you're saying, a good CEO.
Have you thought about senior players going
That's
there?
where the AFL will be.
Yeah, and that's
Sorry,
where
go
I
ahead.
was saying, like, the professionalism of a Travis Spoke, the professionalism of a Rory Sloane, these guys are the ones. I could mention Pendlebury, Koch and Selwood, but I can't
I love
see
the
them
boat
leading.
suggestion.
Yeah.
I love
Leadership
it.
as well.
Because that ties
Yeah.
into what Eddie said. If they get a pick assistance, a first-round pick, but you have to trade it out, does it go to Port, incentivise them with picks, and you get Boak?
It's
A 5-year deal.
It's not insurmountable, this. You could turn this club around pretty quickly with the right people in place making the calls and the right benefits for the players coming through. So, the North fans, don't lose despair. You know, there's a little bit of light ahead, but there's some big decisions that have to be made, smart decisions, and not just emotional decisions.